Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Mr. Rob. I am, of course, your host, good old BMR. How y'all doing this afternoon? Thanks for coming on in. Thursday afternoon, 1 o'clock here in the East, 12 Central, wherever you may be in this world. Appreciate y'all for showing up here today. Got a pretty cool show in store for you. Joining me in Studio B from Texas is, of course, Tex Wesson. And also joining me in Studio C from the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, the lovely Brandy. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, and of course, Texas Front Porch Found on YouTube. I no longer give out our schedules. We're on almost every day during the week. Texas on Monday at 9, Wednesday morning, I believe at 9 a.m., Sunday night, I believe at 7 in the East. Those are all Eastern Standard Times. Brandy, the Blondes, they're on Wednesdays, I believe at 8 or 9 in the East. And of course, Thursday and Friday, 9 in the East and 8 in the East, respectively. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And of course, BMR's on Tuesday nights at 9, Thursday afternoons at 1, and Saturday at midnight. So thanks for coming on in. If you're new, please subscribe. Hit that alert bell. Turn on the alert bell. Turn on the alert bell so you won't miss a single show. Thank you for that. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, also wherever podcasts are found. And I have to make mention of something because recently I started going on our Spreaker account. And of course, Spreaker also sends these shows in podcast form out to like Apple and Spotify. And I just started kind of listening to some of our podcasts. And this is interesting because I actually got some comments. And it also revolves around my show, Tex's show, and the girls, the Blondes and Booze show. And some people on Spreaker. So this is for the Spreaker people and the podcast people. There's some confusion sometimes from the Spreaker people because they just listen to podcast form. They ask. Sometimes they get a little lost during the shows because we're giving shout outs to people. We're saying thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the gifting of memberships, which, by the way, the super chat's open, a great way to support what we do here. Also, you can become a BMR pirate. Join today. Get a picture of me with my bandana beside you in the chat room. So thanks. And I'm also going to be doing some members only shows for members of the BMR pirate clan. But referring back to people that listen on podcasts, they're like, we don't understand. Sometimes we get lost. Because and then I made some replies, and it was for all of our 3 shows that we have. Again, Tex, Brandy, Krista, and Rob. Yes, I'm like, yeah. Well, we record them live on YouTube, and we have a live chat with people in the chat room. And so, yes, what you're getting in podcast form is the live show that we drop a week later. So, for those of you that are confused on the podcast side, that's what we do. So you can always go to the YouTube channels and watch the video with the live action in the background. So I did like to mention that. Like, share, subscribe, check out our about pages as we move on throughout the day. And of course, I want to thank everybody for buying my books. They're out there. Bigfoot Mr. Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters Book 1, of course. Thanks for those who bought that. Here it is right here. Please leave a review on that. That's been out for a little over a year. Now, book 2 has been out for a little over a month. End of August, I put this out. Thank you for that. The link is provided here. Just type in Bigfoot Mr. Rob on your Amazon browser. And it's all analytics these days. So please, indeed, leave a review because it does help push sales of the product, the book, if you will. And with that being said, I'm going to bring up my great guests, or not guests, really, co-hosts, hosts, whatever you want to call them. We got this weird, I don't know what this name is. I can't even pronounce this. Awalasas Skunk Tussle. Yes. Hello, Tex.
Aloysius Skunk Tussle. Aloysius P. Skunk Tussle.
What does that mean? I wish I was a skunk?
I don't know what it means. Aloysius, it's just actually it's an old-timey name. Aloysius is an old-timey name. But that is something that Ranger X called me. It's kind of an inside joke, but I just thought it was funny.
And, I think it's funny. It's very catchy. I thought it meant front porch. But then I'm gonna bring up the lovely Brandy because I love that when Brandy comes on. She graces us here today because she's a busy lady and she pops out when she can. Hi, Brando.
Hi there. Hi there. I just got off work early, so I thought, I'll pop in today.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It's always great to see you.
Brandy, I don't know about you, but I'm a little offended because for some reason he put me in Studio B and you in Studio C. Why the hell can't we just be in the same studio and we can talk that way? Oh no, he's got to separate us, and I think it's so we don't.
We don't talk about him. Yeah. So we don't talk about him.
Yeah.
Well, they're
very insecure.
They're in separate studios because I really don't want to hear the rhetoric after the show. I just don't want to hear it. The banter about BMR. No, the different studios from the different states. See, I'm in Studio A and, of course, Michigan. B is Texas, the state of Texas, and C is the state of Missouri. So we're all in different states. So therefore, you have to have different studios in which to perform the show.
He has to get all technical, doesn't he?
Hey, and I'm the least technical guy when it comes to YouTube, podcasting, broadcasting, whatever you want to call
it. Well, there you go. You go.
I don't even know what it is. So,
Tex.
Whatever I'm doing here.
Yeah, I just kind of hit the keys on the keyboard, which sometimes is also a mistake.
And don't forget, everybody forgets how to end the show because we're all like, "Where's the button?"
Well,
I just push buttons till something works. That's why.
Yeah, well, yes, you do. You're welcome, Josh Castro, for that. Thanks. Hey, Moggs, good to see you. Thanks for everybody for coming on in here this afternoon.
It's good to see everybody in the afternoon.
It's
good to see everybody.
I do like doing the afternoon show because it's the very first show I started. Well, actually, I started with Tex many years ago, and we kind of evolved. And this is kind of the baby. This is the very first product or show that I've done. And of course, 3-4 years later, we've all expanded our shows. And again, we're on every day, it seems, during the week. So, which is awesome. And thanks, and our lovely people in chat and all the people that listen that don't participate in chat. I always have to thank you for coming on in, help driving all of our shows across the platform. So that's always appreciative. So thank you for that. So didn't have a guest today, right? And we don't always have guests on the show. I'll kick it with Tex once in a while, this, that, and the other. And I've never really done any. I titled this what I don't know what to come up with today. It was Dogman, Werewolf, Bigfoot Encounters. So typically, kind of on Saturday at midnight, we go over some encounter stories. We break them down. Thanks, Josh, for that. That's awesome. 5 new pirate members. Thanks to Josh Castro. Very much appreciative of that, Josh. Thank you so much. So yeah,
and I'm trying to say hi to everybody, and folks, I'm telling you, it's
I can't keep up. I can't keep up anymore.
Oh my gosh!
The chat is rolling pretty good. It's kind of off the hook a little for an early show, so I do appreciate that. And thanks once again for Josh and everybody for coming on in.
Yeah, so everybody out there, I'm waving hello because it's just moving too fast for me.
Yeah, a big Michigan high for me, and of course Tex. Yeah. I'm sure that from Texas.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going because I do not multitask well. Okay, just saying.
I did not know
that. We are high, and I'm surprised. Rob, you didn't say Missouri.
Yeah, I'm done with that. It wore its course, Brandy.
Thank you. Because you always have to remember, I'm a Michigan girl. I just happen to live in Missouri.
Yeah, so maybe just with Krista, I'll say Missouri.
There you go.
Krista, you and I are born and bred in Michigan.
That's right.
You just happen to be a transplant.
I am.
Yes.
Well, she's an honorary Texan too.
That's right. That's right. I do wear my hat proud. So there you go.
Does. Always do, Brandy. You always do. So, again, thanks to everybody. And So yeah, so I was thinking, well, what to do today? So I decided I'm gonna tell a Bigfoot encounter, a legend, right? And we can talk about Tex, Brandy. You might have heard it, but I haven't done this in a long time. And the day show, I know most of the people because it's weird because we get different people on day, night, and midnight, it seems. But a lot of the same people are regulars and they're on all three shows, which I appreciate, as well as for Tex and for Brandy and Krista. So thank you to you guys. But so I said, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then the next story, if we have time, I'm just going to read it because I didn't have time to memorize it because I got a late start today. So I hope not to bore anybody with that. But the story is quite intriguing. But this first one I'm going to do from memory. And it's cool because it does take place in Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula's Porcupine Mountains. Okay. So I'm going to go through this and we can kind of discuss it. And people in chat, feel free to leave a comment on it, if you will. Like, share, subscribe, of course. Moving on. This took place in the summer of 2015 in, of course, the Porcupine Mountains in the Upper Peninsula. This guy, his name's, I don't know, Jimmy, okay? He'd been there for 35 years. He sends me this email, and he's, right now, probably at our age, he's in his 50s, and he was a Bigfoot researcher. Of course, as a lot of people know, a lot of cryptid activity in the Upper Peninsula, a great spot, a great location for it. So he was actually driving down one of the interstates looking for a new territory or new forest to dive into in the mountains of the Porcupine. And he comes across this tree line, a place he never ventured into. So he parked his vehicle off on the side of the road. There was a place to park it, and he got out and he starts walking the tree line. Then he comes across an opening. Now, this is heavy brush. There's no trails. It's just him out. He says he has his machete, and he's just out just looking to do something different. So he finds this tree line, and it's partially open where he can get in. Still is kind of some rough brush. So he starts tackling the situation, and he's moving through the tree line into the forest at the foothills, I should say, of the mountains, Porcupine Mountains. And as he gets further in, he notices that he no longer has to really use his machete, but he comes upon this kind of cool formation in the woods where it was kind of like an above ground like tunnel where all the foliage of the trees, it kind of shaped a deep arc. An arc not quite, it was like not 8 foot tall, but it was just tall enough for him to kind of traverse through it. So he's going through this tunnel, and this, he said this happened in like the middle of the afternoon, the first time out, and then he's getting into it, and now with the coverage of the foliage from the trees and what have you, it was kind of dark, couldn't really see a lot. And then he had, and through his nostrils, he smells this pungent odor, which something he never ever came across while out in the woods. And he kind of got a little frightened. So he stops, he turns around, and he decides to leave. And so he goes back, gets back to his vehicle, and he goes home. So he was, for about a week into this, he's kicking himself why he didn't go further. So about a week goes by, and he's thinking about this. So now he decides that he's now going to go back. Goes back to the same location. He finds the same entrance into the forest, and he again goes in. And this time he says he's going to continue further. And again, the opening, the above ground kind of like tunnel shape that he could get through. And again, the pungent smell. But he says, I'm going to go further, and further. And again, you guys, is during like early morning, early afternoon, perhaps. And the smell is, again, a very unusual. He thought it was perhaps like rotten meat. Couldn't quite put his senses on it or explaining what it was, but then he trips. He trips and he falls forward. And again, it's kind of dark inside of here, right? And then he kind of gets up, and then he gets up and his body is covered in blood, fresh blood. And he kind of starts to immediately freak out, like I guess anybody would. And then he kind of looks down at the ground as to what he tripped over, which was the carcass of a deer, which was torn to pieces. Okay. He still wants to forward, but now he's thinking, man, I might have entered a den of perhaps a bear or something like that. So now he's thinking he's in a dangerous situation. However, maybe 30, 40 feet in front of him, he sees the end of this tunnel and he can see the daybreak and an exit. So he says, no, I think I'm going to turn back, because he still thinks he's like in a den of a predator. So as he turns around to go back, all of a sudden he stops because he heard this grunting. And this unusual sound, and he can't quite put his fingers on this sound because it's something he's unfamiliar with. Could not put a finger. It did not sound like a bear, a cougar, but just couldn't precisely understand what he was hearing. So now he says, well, I've got to turn around and get out of here because there's something in back of me. Now we can hear steps or footfall approaching him. Then all of a sudden, inside, again, the darkness of this above ground tunnel made of trees, he can see something. Now, the tunnel, you guys, is maybe about 8 foot wide. It's pretty, at this part of the tunnel, it gets pretty wide. It's maybe 6 foot tall. And then he sees something as he's seen these like glowing eyes, like a yellowish eyes. But then he notices that it's walking or crawling at him. And he thinks it's a huge spider. That's the first thing that comes to his mind. I know, Brandy, we talked about spiders. Yeah, creepy, right?
Uh-huh.
In his mind, he's thinking it's a spider because he can see appendages that are extending from this body that are literally from almost of either side of this tunnel wall. He's like fearing for himself. Now he's frightened. He says, no, I have no choice but to go toward daylight at the other end of the tunnel. He turns around, doesn't run because he remembers running is a no-no. Predators, you start running, hey, it's over. But he's walking briskly, kind of looking over his shoulder, still feels the presence following him. And then he gets to the daylight and he gets out and he kind of runs out now, breaking into the end of the tunnel. He trips, he falls, he gets up, and now he's in this meadow. It's a big field. At the other side of the meadow, there's another forest tree line. But he gets up and he is just skedaddling briskly toward the other tree line. After about 50, 60 feet, he looks over his shoulder. And now he sees in the back what was following him, which was he still can't figure out what it was, but it was something hovering low to the ground with extended like arms. Then all of a sudden it rose up and stood. He said it stood on 2 feet. It was extremely tall, 8, 9 foot tall, covered in black hair. And then it roars at this guy, screams at this guy. And this guy turns his head around and just continues to briskly walk towards the other side of the meadow to this other tree line. Now, mind you, he doesn't really know where he is now because there's no road around here. He's in the middle of the Porcupine Mountains. He takes one last look, and now this thing is gone. Now, though, he knows, okay, cool, it's not following me, it's not tracking me down, but now he is kind of doesn't know where he's at, so he goes. The only option was to go back into this other tree line where he now gets into the tree line and he starts forging his way through the tree line. He says he's maybe hiking through this, cutting away the brush, the bramble with his machete, and then he finally hits an interstate. again, he's like, but he's still like bewildered, befuddled. Where am I? I have to get back to my vehicle. But at least he's now relieved that he's made it to the state road, and he starts kind of walking, whether north, south, east, or west, I don't know, walking. Then he sees this just a semi truck, a logging truck, in the distance is coming down the interstate, and he's like, "Oh, thank you, Lord. Hopefully this guy stops," and he puts out his thumb, the hitchhiking thumb, and trying to flag this trucker down. Trucker slows up. The guy runs to him and says, "Hey, I got lost in the woods, my friend. Miserable day. I don't know where I'm at. My car is over on Interstate 37 or whatever. He didn't see an interstate marker, so he didn't even know still where he was. He's still trying to collect his thoughts. In the back of his mind, he's still trying to process what this was that he's seen in that forest-shaped tunnel, right? So truck driver's like, yeah, the logger, whatever, says, yeah, hop on in. I know exactly where you are. I know whether if your car's not Interstate 37. He tells this guy, you guys, that they're about 13 miles from Interstate 37. So this guy thought that was odd because he knows damn well he didn't traverse 13 miles through this tunnel. If it was 100 yards long, that's too long, right? Found it odd, got into the semi truck, and these guys are BSing. And the truck driver immediately knew that there was something wrong with this guy, that this guy really had something on his mind. He saw the fright in this guy's face. And he asked the guy, I understand you're lost and concerned, but now you're fine. Did you experience something in the woods? He goes, you're not going to believe if I told you. He goes, I think I come across this giant spider in this tunnel, this wood-lined tunnel, and I tripped over the carcass of a deer. I thought it was in a bear den or some predator's den, and I got covered in blood. I freaked out, so I went to leave, but all of a sudden I seen this thing hovering on the ground, crawling at me. It was humongous. It covered the entire tunnel. I seen these yellow eyes, greenish eyes, whatever color they were. And he says, nope, I got to get out here. And he says, and I kind of briskly walked out, fell down into the meadow. And I said, I got up, started walking. Then I turned around and seen this creature hovered at the ground, stand up like a humanoid on two legs, covered in black hair, and roared and screamed at him. And he said he turned his head around, kept going. Says the thing didn't chase after him, and this is where he ends up as this truck driver picks him up, this logging truck, right? Truck driver's listening. So the guy, Jimmy, or what's his name? Jimmy. Yeah, he says, yeah, that's a crazy story, but wow. The logging driver of the semi truck goes on to tell him, well, you came across a Sasquatch. And Jimmy, who I mentioned earlier in the story, was an avid researcher. He lived in the UP, and he's seen several Bigfoot. He says, well, there's no Bigfoot walking, crawling like a spider. Now, he says, when it stood up, it reminded me of a Bigfoot, but it was just the weirdest thing I've seen. He goes, yeah, they're prevalent all about the Porcupine Mountains, and you're just lucky you escaped when you did. Not suggesting peril or that is imminent death was awaiting. But yeah, he told this man, and Jimmy later writes on that he's been back with friends in that area. But the funny thing, there's two funny things about this story. First of all, the logging truck driver drops him off. They get to his car, again, 13 miles away. So his question to me was, and I had outside of a portal, he tried to figure out the short distance he traveled, how he was 13 miles away. And also, secondly, was he never seen such a creature in the forest before. And he went back to the same location with some friends to go further research. And, he says he cannot find, and he knows exactly where he entered the forest. But to this day, he cannot find that entrance. So that's kind of where the email ends. This is where the story ends. So a couple things come to mind for me is I'm kind of confused on being 13 miles away from his original location, how he can't pick up this trail again. and maybe what he saw, I think it was probably a Bigfoot doing that spider crawl we've all heard about. That I think was a Bigfoot, but these other instances, I don't know. So you guys, whoever wants to go, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot to unload. There's a lot to the story. The only thing that I can think of is, gosh, that is so hard. That we've talked about, Bigfoot, and is it, flesh and blood, or is it supernatural? Is there something else that we're dealing with here? And the truth is, nobody knows. We don't know if some aren't. We have no idea. My thing is when he went back and couldn't find it with his friends, I think that the Bigfoot made it that way. It's like, okay, I let you come once and didn't know you were there. You came back the second time, I let you know I was there. And then the third time it says, well, I've got to move because now that he knows where I'm at. So I think that he probably destroyed the whole thing and moved on. Along with other, other theories on Bigfoot that they migrate anyway. They go where the food is. They go where the water is. I mean, could that have been part of it? That's why he couldn't find that. It's just kind of like it cleaned up after itself and then moved on. But then again, the 13 miles, that's a little concerning. Because that sounds like either time loss, time travel, a ripping time. I do not know what that is about. But then again, we've always talked about how, like, I'll be driving and I'll be on a 20-minute drive that I drive all the time. And then sometimes I'm like, how did I even make it here? I don't even remember driving this 20 minutes, because you're so deep in thought and things like that. Maybe he was so deep in thought, thinking about what he had seen and trying to process it, he may not have realized that he had gone that far. And face it, when you see Bigfoot, that is traumatic. That changes your life. It changes your life. And maybe that's what happened. I mean, he was just walking and walking and walking and just lost track of time, which people do. I've had friends that said that they thought they were out in the woods for like 45 minutes to an hour, and they were gone for 5 hours. And there's no explanation for it. So, your guess is as good as mine on this. This is a crazy story.
Yeah, I don't want to be that first guy that jumps all of a sudden to the supernatural or portals or time slips. I think all of us, people watching, people in chat, text himself, Brandy, you mentioned it. I've gotten caught up in daydreaming or in just driving and not realize that, man, I really traveled 30 miles.
Right. Yes.
And it doesn't seem like I spent no more than 10 minutes on the road. And I don't think that I went through a portal. I don't think that I had a time warp. I don't want to be that guy that jumps, oh my God, it's a portal, this and that, because there's always an explanation. We hate to say scientifically, but there's this, you just get caught in that malaise. You're bored, you're driving, and so maybe a lot of things you said make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so the 13 miles, if in retrospect, it's not that big a deal. And I think also the fact that he can't refine that tunnel, I think that perhaps the creature, Bigfoot, whatever it was, probably did maybe take it down, recognizing, okay, a human, found my lair or his hangout, right?
Mm-hmm. Did he ever describe what that smell was? Did it smell like?
It was pungent and kind of. He said it was pungent, of course, and anything can be pungent, right? But he did, as I made a mention a little later, rotten meat, which I think probably was the deer. But if you go back to that, though, Brandy, he had that same pungent smell the first time he went, then a week later, it's the same smell. And I'm guessing certainly it had to be another fresh kill. So maybe this was the kill zone. Maybe the Bigfoot was out hunting and this is where he dragged his food. Certainly like Bigfoot eats more than one deer a week.
Right. Well, it sounds like he landed in his living room.
Sounds like it.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Tex, I see that you have your mic on. Is there background noise, or would you like to give your thoughts?
There was some stuff going in the background. Yeah, I think it seems to be the general consensus, and I agree, Brandy and some other folks in chat, that if it was a Bigfoot, and it sounds like it was, that it was like, maybe this area, he had his privacy for a while, and he's like, oh God, this guy's been back 3 times. I'm out of here. Or it just could have been just happenstance where there was because if we go to the 2 fresh kills thing, maybe there was a group of deer moving through that area. Maybe he was there for that reason. They moved on. He moved on. I don't think there's any supernatural aspect to it. Him losing time and getting lost. See, that kind of goes hand in hand. Because when you get lost in the woods, when that kind of panic kicks in, you lose track of time. Because he doesn't ever mention anything about sundown, what time it was, or anything like that.
The only thing the relative is always said it was early morning. You got dark in the tunnel because the foliage, the trees covering the tunnel, and it was in the daytime. Yes, you're right, though. It'd been nice to know when he finally got to the road. Was it dark? Was it still mid-morning, mid-afternoon?
Well, it seems like to me it would take him quite a while anyway. Yeah. Because you're talking about 13 miles and he's having to hack his way through. So, I mean, you would think that there would be it would be dusk or something when he's arriving at the, at the road, but there's no mention of that.
Well, the thing about it is 13 miles going through the brush, 13 miles, that's a couple of day trip.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize how long it takes to move through that stuff. And you as hard as you try, you don't move in a straight line. You're switchbacking, you're having to go around stuff, you're having to pick your way through stuff. That I don't think in that case, if you're talking about he traveled 13 miles, the time frame becomes very important.
Yes.
Because if he traveled 13 miles in a couple of hours, then we're really talking about something supernatural. Actually, 13 miles in the same day. Because just walking 13 miles on a road is 4 hours, 5 hours, and that's at a good brisk walk, and you're not doing that in the woods.
Yeah, I would say if I went a mile in thick brush, which I have done, that is enough. I am done for the day. Once I go through 1 mile of thick brush, and you're having to just chip your way through, I wouldn't be able to do 13 miles.
No. It slows your progress down a lot. It's just like climbing up the side of a mountain. People are, oh yeah, I can get up there. It's just 6,000 feet. That's a little over a mile. Yeah, we can do that in a couple hours. No, you cannot, because it's not just a walk. You're going uphill, which you're going to slow over time. You got to pick your way through stuff and brush. I explained that to my son one time when we were in Mexico. He's like, oh, I could do that in a day. No, you could not. Hey, thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Josh.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'd love to hear that story.
We got there. Oh, wow. Action figure coming alive. Yeah, Josh, that's I'd like to hear that as well.
It's like one of my worst nightmares. Dolls coming to life.
Well, you know how I am with dolls. I'm creeped out with dolls and clowns.
Yeah, you better send that to me or come on my channel, because Rob would be in tears by the time the story's over.
Yeah, I can't hoard.
You'd be hiding under the blanket and all kinds of stuff. So
I would be flabbergasted. I couldn't get through the whole show.
Yeah, I could just see Rob. He's like, okay, I'm done. Good night, everybody. End of show.
It's like telling a spider story to Monica. You know, it's not or what's the other guy's name? We got Jason. But yeah, the 13 miles, the time frame, we need more context here. To really, because I'm kind of guessing he either didn't go 13 miles or he was gone longer than he thought he was in like a couple of days. But that's where you start. Okay, well, maybe it was a portal. You know,
because
we know they're out there. We know.
I think that people have, you know, you talk about the missing 411, and let's not even talk about monsters, human beings. I think missing 411 is portals. You just walk through and you never come back. I do believe that. But you're right, though. I'd like to have known, because the logging driver of the semi truck told a guy, we're 13 miles out of Interstate 37, what it was, where his vehicle was. It would be nice to know, if this guy finally found the other interstate at sundown, or like you say, Tex, if it was still middle of the afternoon, there's no way you can travel that distance in a short time. I know when I used to walk 3 miles, it would take me an hour.
Well,
that's 3 miles.
There's only one other explanation that I can think of. So if he had to go back to the highway, and that was 13 miles, that's a straight back to hit the other highway, right? But what if the guy came off and did an angle and cut off a lot of that?
Right.
You know, I mean, that is possible that he had done that. So even though he was 13 miles from where he ended up on the highway back to where he was, but he only maybe did 2 miles or 3 miles. Right. You know, maybe that was something, because, you know, he took maybe a straighter line to get to that highway versus what the highway actually ran. So, I mean, that's possible.
Yeah, it is. And I agree with you, Brandy, because if you got, say, a highway going here and a highway going here, you know, you may have to drive 13 miles to get back to it. But if you go as the crow flies between them, it cuts the distance, you know, about a quarter or a half even.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a very good point.
I mean, that's possible. And like I said, and then with with what had just happened and him thinking about it, I mean, he could have traveled a few miles. There's no doubt in my mind that he did. But I'm thinking he just got lost in what he was doing. He just, was just thinking and not concentrating on actually, oh my gosh, I'm getting tired. This is a very long way. Right. So maybe that was part of it.
Yeah, because it's weird because he didn't mention anything about getting real thirsty or anything, or fatigued or anything like that. So in a 13-mile journey, that's going to happen.
Yeah. So I'm thinking he probably may have cut a corner.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I believe if I was sticking with normal circumstances, that's where I would go with it. Mm-hmm. You know, he went as the crow flies and not the roundabout way, scenic route. You know. Right. Hey, hello, Bruce, welcome.
Yeah, if you are new here, you're new. Thanks. Welcome to our show here. And by the way, for people that are new here, please subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, Texas Front Porch, and of course, Bigfoot Mission Rob. Thanks for all the new people coming on in, because it's quite I got to tell you, Tex, for a Thursday afternoon, this is quite a turnout today. So
absolutely.
I'm pretty pleased with this, and thanks to everybody. Thanks to Mr. Castro.
I was just thinking, though, Rob, what's so funny is that we're all in a circle, because I'm on Texas Front Porch and I'm on with you.
Yeah,
Tex is on with you, and you guys come on with us. So it's just kind of like, there it is. I mean, we're all we have all shows together all the time.
Really?
We actually do. Yeah, it does. It's like that in all the shows, really. Outside of, even when we have guests on, because we do, for those that are new, we do have guests on, researchers, experiencers, and today's show is just me telling a couple stories to you guys, and we're breaking them down today. But yeah, you're right about that, Brandy. We have a big circle, a big happy circle,
a big happy family of the misfit twins.
If you are a misfit, if you embrace the weird, you are on the right you're in the right channels.
You're in the right place. Yeah.
That's for sure.
We don't criticize or judge anybody. You got a story. I don't care how weird it is. We'll listen to it. We'll hear you.
Well, we criticize and judge each other, but
that's a different thing. Yeah,
It's kind of like what brothers and sisters do. It's a
that ain't no
constant
lie.
squabble match with somebody.
That ain't no lie. Especially out in the field, man. We had some great conversations out in the field. Oh my gosh.
I know. We need to get Rob out there because I'm telling you, if we just recorded like half of what we talk about out there, that'd make one dang good show. It really would.
Better. What do you mean, Henry? It was better. Henry says it was better before YouTube cut your shows.
Cut our shows.
Oh, when we were all together and we would stream
Oh,
on
we
each
were all
other's
on the
channels.
floor.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
we did that for a while. Yeah. Now
we hate that too.
We had to go in. We had to go independently because YouTube didn't want to make more money. I guess I have no idea.
I know it's a big pain for everybody, watching and out in chat because now you have to go to everybody's separate channel. Because before you just tune into one of us and you would get the show. It didn't matter which. And I know that was easier, but they said no.
There was pros and cons, of course. You had to flip flop to give everybody. You had to go back and forth, and there's pros and cons to everything in life, and we all get that. We got to move on and embrace change, I guess.
Right.
So I couldn't find, since we're doing Werewolf and Dogman stuff, I couldn't find the written version. It's somewhere in a file, somewhere on my computer. But I did bring up the narrated version of a Dogman story that I have on my channel. If you want to do it that way,
is that what's sitting down here, Tex? Yeah,
that is what's sitting down there, ready to go.
Yeah, so everybody kick back and listen to this. I'll be interested in hearing this. Do I have to turn it on?
I'll take care of it.
Okay, cool.
Oh, this is new. I'm liking it.
I like it. Dogmatic Text family. Okay, let's hear this.
See if it works.
Now, I'm not going to get a strike on this, are we, Tex, for sharing
No,
this?
I shouldn't. No.
Okay.
Y'all hear that? I'm originally from East Texas. And this is my story, believe it or not. My family home was plagued with what is now called Dogman. I can remember when I was young overhearing my dad and my uncles talking about animals disappearing, dogs, cats, even cattle and other livestock. They'd say things like, well, that damn pack is stirred up again. They done snatched up this or that. I remember that as kids, we weren't allowed to be out when the sun started to set. And even when we were out during the day, it was under a watchful eye of our parents or older family member or a trusted friend of the family. I mean, we'd hear howls fairly regularly at night, but seldom close to the house. We never owned a dog that I recall. The livestock were always brought into the barn at night, and we were always told it was because of the wolf pack that lived in the area. I guess I was about 12 years old when I found out the truth, and that wasn't because I was supposed to. It was late one night in the fall, and I remember getting woke up, and my dad's and uncle's voices, they were loud and sounded mad. I didn't know what was going on. My aunt was crying, my mom was trying to comfort her, and I got up and was about to open the door and go to the living room when I heard a loud howl that just sounded really close from the direction of the barn. I felt the howl as much as I heard it. My aunt and my mother and even myself covered our ears. My dad and my uncle, they both jacked the rounds into the hunting rifles they had, and I must have made a noise because my father looked up at me, and I'll never forget what he said. Son, go get some clothes on. And he tossed me the keys to the gun cabinet. Get your gun and load up. The tone of my dad's voice was different than I've ever heard. Dark, ominous, and pissed. And I didn't waste any time doing what I was told. When I got back, my dad pulled me aside and told me to check all the windows and doors, and then him and my uncle ushered me, my aunt, and my mother into the pantry. Told me to shoot through the door if I heard anyone but him or my uncle. I heard him go out the front door, and for what seemed like forever, we heard nothing. And then shots rang out, followed by a mournful crying howl and more shots, then some whimpering. And then after a while, just one single shot. I remember my hands, I was soaked in sweat. I had to keep wiping them on my shirt and jeans. My rifle was all slick in my hands, and my mother and aunt, they were stifling tears all the while. My mother assuring me and that they were okay, and my aunt, she was constantly praying, her rosary clenched in her fist. And I mean, we all tensed as we heard the front door open. And then my uncle called out, "Don't come on out. It's dead." I opened the door and was nearly knocked down by my aunt as she ran past me and jumped into my uncle's arms, just wailing and crying. And my mother, he looked at my uncle and he nodded and said, "Jack's fine. He's out front." We both bolted outside just in time to see my father empty his rifle into two creatures from the front porch that were running off, dragging another one of them. My uncle came busting out of the front door and emptied his rifle as well. One of the creatures yelped, but they never slowed down. They disappeared in the trees. My father directed all of us in the truck, and we stayed in town at my uncle's for the next few days. Only my father and uncle were allowed to return back to the house and check on things. Eventually, my father sold our stock and our place. We moved to town. I remember we all sat around at the table at my uncle's house and we all agreed that nothing was to ever be said about that night. And if we were asked why we moved, we would say it was because of money. And me being a kid, it was easy to me to play ignorant on the subject. Well, years passed, and so did my parents and my uncle and my aunt. I once had a conversation with my dad about that night after I was older. And he told me that he was convinced that those things were the work of the devil, and he asked me to never speak of it again. I don't know if they are the work of the devil or if they're just some forgotten animal. What I do know is that I have never set foot in the woods since, and I never will. God bless.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome, man. I never heard that, Tex.
That's a good story. That is a really good story.
It always saddens me how when people come across whatever it is in the woods, how they always say that phrase, much like, remember Kerry Arnold?
Yep.
You'll never go back into the woods again.
Yep. We get that a lot. You know, and it's unfortunate. Now, I can't blame this kid, you know, but of course, you know, and this encounter is honestly, that's an extreme encounter.
Yeah.
You know, and they're rare like that. You know, you have like that one. You have on the Bigfoot side of things, you have the 8 Canyon stuff. You have, you know, the LaFleur massacre, even the one up in Hanobi, Oklahoma that took place, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I couldn't imagine, you know, it's not just like something crossing the road and you catch a glimpse of it. This is
right.
It's
Yeah.
It's like an all-out war that they're having out there in the yard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What's your take with the Dogman? Evil? Tex?
No, I don't think so. I think with this encounter, if it's true, I mean, you know, it's
we don't know.
I said, very extreme. You kind of have to take it as it is, and but I can just go by my experience.
Yes,
I'm still sitting here, you know, and I was up close and personal with one of these things.
Mhm.
I don't think they're evil. I think they're opportunistic for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Me briefly, then Brandy, you can answer that. I think that Dogman, I'm not going to say they're evil entities, although this reminds me, I'll do this other story. Now, you guys have heard it, but we have new people, and this kind of is where it goes different, but I'm not going to tell it right now. Going by what I've heard to people I've spoken with, I've never seen a Dogman. You get that feeling that with Dogman, we could always debate the apers versus, flesh and blood and paranormal and talk about Sasquatch. We get that. We're not doing that today. But with the Dogman, it's a flesh and your encounter text, flesh and blood. Absolutely. I believe that 100%. And people that I talk to, you get the flesh and blood, but then always in a lot of these cases, it's something that they say comes from another realm, or it's something that's not natural. And a lot of people don't walk away singing happy birthday after they have an experience with a Dogman. So I'm not going to call it evil, but I think there's evil presences on the earth that might take the form of the Dogman.
Right.
Randall. Thanks again, Josh Castro. You're awesome, man.
Good night, Josh. I guess for me, it's just kind of like I don't necessarily think they're evil. Do I want to run into one? No, but I also don't want to run into a bear. Bears do what bears do. Bigfoot does what Bigfoot does, and I think that Dogman do what Dogman do. I don't necessarily think they're demonic or evil. I think they just do what they do.
I can agree
I think
with
I'm gonna
that.
put that on a T-shirt.
Dogman do what they do, and they always want to scare you, it seems. And again, there's certain accounts where if it's a Dogman in somebody's account, it might not even be a Dogman. It could be a demon that's manipulated by the demon, making it take the form of a wolf or dog, right?
Yeah.
I think that can happen. I've done stories on that, you guys. You've all heard them. Where you just don't know. But that's why I appreciate people sending stories and the people we have on the shows, because it leaves that question. What are we really experiencing here? We might think it's one thing when it might not be anything that we're processing. Just if a bear kills someone in the woods, do we call a bear evil?
No.
No.
Because a bear does what a bear does. It protects itself. It protects their young. It, protects their territory. It's a bear. Mm-hmm. So why would a Dogman be any different? Especially when you walk around and you're right in the middle of where it's living.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea, Cowboy. This is 100% text. Take a picture of Brandy with that phrase. Dogman do what Dogman do.
There you go. Well,
I can feel another
you could also use my caricature that Jason did with the braids and stuff, and then Dogman do what Dogman do. There it is.
We could use your only Squatch.
Yes, I've got a picture of that somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but I do. Yeah, I do have that picture somewhere.
Hey, Grego is in the house.
Well, I want to thank everybody. Thanks, Greg. Everybody, if you're new here, subscribe to our channels: Texas Front Porch, Blondes and Booze, Bigfoot, Mr. Rob. Thank you so much. I'm gonna tell this story. Then I've told this before. You two have heard it, but a lot of newer people. This one is kind of it brings it all together for me. Whether I just don't know. But before we do that, I just wanted to thank Josh Castro for gifting 5 Bigfoot Mr. Rob memberships, 5 new pirates are, and Josh Castro $15 in super chat totals. Thank you so much. Super chats not expected, but always appreciated. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning on in. That's awesome. And hello to everybody that I missed in chat, because chat is kind of rolling a little bit here this afternoon.
Well, you got almost 80 people in chat.
Well, that's why I'm just waving to everyone.
Yeah, that's pretty great for the afternoon show. We normally get about 50, but this is awesome. And so thanks to everybody. And if you're new again, check us out. So this is kind of a story. You could take this either way. You guys heard it. We did this on the Saturday night show a couple months ago. You've heard it, and we had the takes, and our takes are kind of like, okay, yeah. I was going to do some other story, but now that we're talking about this, with the newer people, I just got to tell this, and I'm going to put this story to bed for a while. But it's about that creepy South Carolina town. And once I get into this, you guys immediately know what I'm talking about. It's about this guy, this husband and this wife. They're travelers. They travel all about. They have a camper. They have a big 350 F-150 Ford truck and a big old camper that they take, and they go on adventures. And so they're in South Carolina, and they're going to an area where they've never been through before. And so they say, yeah, let's just do this thing. So they get out one morning, they take off. And so they're going through this town, and they're unfamiliar with this town. And it was a smaller town. And they had stopped. Before they took off, they stopped, got their supplies and everything for the road. Now, at the onset of this, they're driving through this town, and the husband and the wife team noticed that they're in this town. We're in this town, you guys. It was very small, very quaint, and in fact, there would be like small mom and pop businesses, a small gas station, maybe a meat market. Then there'd be 3 or 4 houses, then a couple more small businesses. And this was on either side of the road as you're driving down this road, and it's in the forest. And it's this community in the forest with all these, every other stop was a house or again, a small business. But they noticed with these people that in their front yards, they noticed these people, they were just kind of walking around in their front yards, kind of blasé, looking at the ground, staring at their feet, and they're kind of walking around and not paying attention to them driving by, and they seem like they're talking to themselves, talking into the ground or something. The husband and the wife team, they kind of get like, wow, this is kind of like really strange, right? So that's what they're thinking, and they continue on their journey. Again, they're adventurers, and they would always take off. So the husband realizes he didn't get enough smoke, so he stops at this gas station. And when he goes into the gas station, he notices that this clerk is very like weird. He looked at him very strange. And then the clerk at the gas station says that you must be new from these parts. And the man traveling with the wife says, well, yeah, we are. We're just taking an adventurous trip through this part of Carolina, which we've never visited before. He says, well, then the clerk kind of grins at him, kind of a weird grin, and says, well, just be sure that you get through that swamp before nightfall. Because I guess along their travel, you guys, there's going to be a big swamp or a swampy area is up the road. He says, whatever you do, get through it at night, and do not go to sleep along the side of the road in the swamp. Continue on through, because if you continue a few more miles, you'll find another welcome center. Okay, so he told the wife, the man tells the wife this about what the creepy clerk had said. She's like, okay, wow, this is strange. All these strange people walking around in front of their houses, all these little weird businesses all about this small town. So he said, but the guy reiterates the swamp is not safe at night. It's okay, fine. Thank you for the information. Give me my smokes. I'm off. I'm on the road. They're traveling. They finally approach this swamp, and now it's getting to be dusky. And the guy has been traveling for several hours, and he is getting tired. And so as they're in this swamp, okay, the wife says, hey, if you want to pull aside and get some shut eye, let's just do that, because she was getting tired herself. And he's like, yeah. And then they kind of chuckled. Hey, remember what the creepy, gas station attendant says? Don't, sleep in a swamp at night. And so they kind of brush that off, and they get off the side of the road. And they find this little break where he backed his F-350 truck with the camper, and they pull up in this area where they were off the side of the road, safe from traffic, which, by the way, hardly any traffic is traveling this road, by the way. And they sit there, and they both doze off. They go to sleep as the sun is setting in now the swamp area. They might be sleeping maybe a half hour, you guys, where all of a sudden they hear this scraping. All of a sudden, nails on a chalkboard the girls used to do back in school. They get that crazy scratching sound, and it's on the outside of their trailer that they're transporting with the F-350. Horrible sounds, right? And they're like, what in the hell is going on here? So it stops. So the man gets out, and he reaches, and he has a 357 revolver with him. Okay. He gets out to investigate what's going on. He gets out of his trailer, and now he doesn't see anything. He doesn't see anything immediately. His first thought was to investigate the side of his trailer that he's towing with his truck. And there are gouged out indentations of claws in his trailer. And he's looking around. Then all of a sudden, in the back of the trailer, he looks into, I guess, like the woodline or the swampy area, and he sees this creature on two legs. He says, man, Rob, and what he tells me, it looks like a werewolf, man. And it comes out, and is bluff charging him. Bluff charges, goes at him, stops back, goes back. Then all of a sudden, this thing comes at this guy. He has his 357, boom. He says he shoots it, hits it in the shoulder. He sees blood spatter, hears his howl. It drops to four. All four is this alleged werewolf, dogman, whatever you want to call it. And boom, explodes into the forest, back into the swamp. This couple, they're freaking out. What did we just come across? And the man says, man, that kid, that creepy gas station attendant was onto something. What? I've never seen such a thing. So they get their senses about. The guy gets back in. He gets in his tractor trailer, gets with his 350, and they get out of town. The wife mentions, hey, we should be coming close to that welcome station. So they're driving another couple hours, or couple miles up the road. Then all of a sudden, at the end of this, they're now exiting this swampy area. And they see a bunch of lights ahead, and it's a big old parking lot. There's a convenience store. There's a bunch of motorists parked in this campsite, maybe, or just a big parking lot with a convenience store, and people are hanging out. They're going in and out of this alleged grocery store, convenience store. So again, this guy needs more cigarettes. He's disheveled. He doesn't want to, he gets out, tells his wife, hey, to stay here. I'll be out. You need anything, honey? He goes in, buys whatever. As he's getting out of the F-350, proceeding to the convenience store, he looks into this car, and there's some like disheveled looking guy that's kind of staring him down. He looks at the guy, and he thinks, geez, there's weird people around here. Kind of brushes him off, doesn't make eye contact really, and goes into the convenience store. Gets into the convenience store, goes to the clerk. The clerk has, man, sir, you look kind of disheveled. What happened on your travel? The driver of the F-350 says, well, I just had a bad day in the swamp. And this clerk at this gas station, another creepy guy, right? Says the same words, utters the same words the other gas station attendant said. Now, a different person, of course. He goes, you didn't spend the night, fall off asleep in a swamp area, did you? He goes, well, yeah, I did. He goes, I know what you saw. He goes, okay, well, I don't want to get into it. I just want to get the heck out of this town. Gets out of the convenience store. He's going back to the wife, gets back to load up and get the heck out of town. Now, again, he sees that one guy in that car that kind of gave him that chilling, creepy look or whatever. This person now gets out of the car, starts walking up to the man, and he notices that this man has his arm in the sling. And he notices a little bit of spatter of blood on the shoulder area. The old man comes up to the guy and he goes, you shouldn't be sleeping at night in these woods at night. Freaks this guy out, gets in his car, he takes off and says, honey, I don't know what's going on here. What I shot was some sort of physical creature, werewolf type creature. He goes, the gas station attendant said the same thing the other gas station attendant said. And also, to make matters worse, some dude has this blood spatter on his shoulder as a human being, a creepy guy that utters those words, should be sleeping in that swamp at night. This guy is saying, man, I think that was a shapeshifter, a werewolf. What are your thoughts on that? And I'm like, oh, wow, I don't quite know what to tell you on this story. To me, it's like a Stephen King novel. Creepy town, creepy people, shapeshifters. It seems like all these people are in cahoots together and they know what's going on. Just so lucky that this guy made it out of there. So again, that's kind of that tale. I love that story. I mean, it's a true cryptid encounter story. It's in my book, man. I put in book 1, but again, I'm not going to judge people. I never walked in people's shoes. So initially, we'll go with I'm going to have Brandy here clean up. Tex, what's your thoughts on that? I know we've talked about this several months ago.
Well, I think it's something physical. I mean, if it's leaving claw marks,
Right.
Was the guy a werewolf?
I guess that's kind of where the leading question is.
Yeah.
Don't know. None of us really believe in that coincidence factor. Just see some guy utter those words. He's kind of in a sling, kind of the right arm, kind of shot. And he kind of reiterates things that have been told to this guy throughout this trip.
Yeah.
Just very strange. I'm not suggesting werewolf shapeshifter, but again, I don't know.
And we've talked about the whole transformation thing.
Right.
There's, I think Brandy's on board with it. I think you are too. Me and Monica brought it up, and we're talking about the whole human body even standing up, and the mind also standing up to the whole transformation thing. I don't think it could happen. But I don't know. I mean, maybe, and I know Donnie jokes about it, but maybe this leads credence to the whole human familiar thing with these creatures.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that throws me is just the old man at the end of it threw me a little bit.
Yeah.
I believe that it was something physical. I think the claw marks in the trailer, shooting something physical, sees the blood spatter, and then coming across these, I guess, coincidences with everybody saying the same things, preaching the same things. And again, a man cannot turn into a werewolf. I think that's something else. I think a man, we talked about this before I get up to Brand. We've talked about perhaps it's not a human turning into a werewolf at all. Perhaps it's a werewolf already prevalent that shapeshifts into a human. But before we even get into that, Brandy, what's your thoughts on that story?
Well, it sounds like something physical. But as you stated, I mean, didn't they stop at a gas station going into the swamp?
Yes, they did. And at the end of the swamp. Yes.
Right. So, I mean, of course, the workers, they're going to hear the stories. They're going to see the people that were going through there. They're going to know all about what's happening. Even they might have personal experiences. And, you've got your locals and all kinds of stuff, um, that is very strange, though, that they're not being forthcoming. Say, well, there's things out there, there's predators out there. You don't want to sleep in there. I mean, they don't want to give them just a plain old explanation. They're just going to be like being very cryptic about it. Like, hey,
Being cryptic,
just make
and
sure you get past it. That's all I'm going to tell
they're
you.
being
Just make sure you get
cryptic.
past it.
They're being cryptic, but this guy in the story, though, if that's me, I'm not just going to take that, as you said, that little brief little weird answers. I'm going to ask, hey, what's going on here? I just shot a werewolf, for Christ's sake, in the forest.
Right.
And I
Right.
would try to get more information for my own sanity than just take what they say and pass on and get out of there. I'd want answers.
Right. Well, this makes me think, like what Tech said about these things may be opportunistic, that they're following that road back and forth through that swamp because they know that traffic goes back and forth. And at nighttime, they may have a better chance of getting something by traveling that road at night.
Right.
I mean, that could be a possibility. But if somebody told me, make sure you get through that swamp, I don't care what your reasoning is. Okay, I'm on it. I'm going to be out.
I'm on it. I don't think I'm going to go. If someone tells me that in a foreign land to me, a foreign travel that I've never been through, if I'm told more than once, don't sleep in the swamp, just get through the swamp, get to the welcome center. I tell you what, I might question it, but I'm not. But I'm going to take their advice, being as I'm native to that area.
Right. I'd be like, okay, I'm not stopping. I don't care if I'm tired. We're going to turn on the AC, blare the music. We're going to get through this.
Yeah, but here's the thing about the three of us. We're inquisitive, and we would probably ask, well, okay, I'll do that, but why?
Well, yeah.
I think we would have a conversation longer than 2 minutes.
Right. I'm not. Yeah, I'd want to know.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to interview him. I mean, it's just
we're
hang on. Let me hit record and let's get all this
on and record this.
Right. It's like,
hey, we're going to be doing okay. Where exactly can I run into this thing?
Exactly. What really happens? About what time every night? What's going on?
Why are these creepy people talking into the ground? By the way, back in town, that's really strange too.
Yeah.
This whole
Do you think that maybe there was footprints or something that they had noticed that one of these creatures had perhaps came a little too close for comfort, and they were all out there checking it out to see where it was going?
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
And we're kind of overlooking something that we don't like to think about.
Yeah.
Could be a hoax.
Oh, well, you never know that either.
Because, I mean, let's face it, it doesn't take much to hoax what they were doing. If the guy, shot and accidentally hit the guy in the shoulder, maybe it was just a flesh wound. He didn't pop him real good. And, I mean, it's kind of what they get for going out there and messing with people.
And I will tell you this, that's kind of a good point, Tex, because there are a lot of, close-knit towns. I don't care what side of the country, on north, south, east, or west, but a lot of these small, tight-knit communities, they don't like strangers. They don't like passerbys. They don't like gawkers. They don't like people coming in, hanging out and checking them out. So I don't think it's far-fetched where people would just maybe come up with an elaborate tale about their town just to keep people out. Because maybe they are covering up something that they want no one to know about.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about being a shapeshifter or a werewolf, but maybe they murdered somebody. Maybe just some heinous activity that they don't want involvement from outside forces to blow up their town.
Well, maybe that's. I mean, we're talking about strange people, disheveled people. They could be hiding a meth lab. I mean, You know, I mean,
Yeah, but you go around telling a story like that, then there's people like us that are like, well, hey, let's travel on out there. Let's
Well,
see what we can see.
I kind of want to get back with this guy because I think it's another road. We always say a road trip. Well, this is about the
yeah,
50th road trip we could go on,
yeah,
really. Because I would like to drive through this town.
I would too. I would
yeah,
too. And it's that doesn't scare me off. And now that it's easier to talk about Dogman and Bigfoot and all of these
yeah,
other things. They just opened up a can of worms for their town if they wanted to keep
yeah,
people away. You know what I mean? Because you have people like us now that are out and we're like, hey, what do you got going on?
yeah.
What's happening? It's like, so I don't know. I think they might have caused themselves some trouble.
Yeah, because odds are, if a group of us showed up, we want to investigate what happened here.
Yeah.
We're not going to find anything.
No.
I'd
You know,
pull. I'd,
I
I'd
mean,
be,
nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. We're not going to find anything.
yeah.
You know, oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
Tex, we have this canny ability to find something else. We go
Yeah,
after one thing and then find other things. So
that's true.
there,
That's true.
so that could happen.
If I knowing us, I would probably pull over our vehicle once I get in front of one of the people's houses, walking around like zombies, staring at the ground. Hey, what you looking for?
Yeah,
By the way, I'm a Bigfoot Mission Rob. I have a YouTube channel.
yeah,
Here's my mic. Here's my mic. Talk into the mic, please.
Well, let's just talk about this.
Yeah.
And who are you?
yeah,
That's right. Please tell me all.
Where do you live at?
yeah.
Have you seen
promise you.
anything weird lately in your town?
I promise without you, I will not make this public without your consent.
Right. Sure.
Uh-huh. I'll just kind of, use different names.
Yeah.
You know.
We'll keep your identity safe. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It's always in anonymity.
Right.
Jim Bob, Annie Joe, Bobby Fred, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll
whatever,
wish a skunk tussle.
Yep, Aloysius Skunk Tussle. There
Yeah,
you go.
there you Aloysius Skunk Tussle. Thanks everybody for coming on in. I got to ask you guys before we wrap it up here a little bit. But yeah, this is something we haven't all fully discussed yet. We brought this up. I might have brought it up. Somebody else might have. I'm not. When we talk about shapeshifters, and we've all agreed that we don't think a human being. We don't think Rob can turn into a werewolf because it would probably just kill me,
Right.
or any
Right.
of us, right? Because it's just not molecular in the structure of our bodies, the physiology, right? We would be dead. Now maybe you can turn into one, but that's it. You're not going to revert back to good old Rob, right? You're just
Right.
forever a werewolf. But what about though the people that talk about the werewolves that they see? I never really thought about this. This is good food for thought for a show down the road. What if it's not the human being shape shifting into the werewolf or the dogman or whatever you want to call it? What if it's the werewolf shape shifting into the human form? A natural werewolf shape shifting has that ability to shape shift and turn into whatever they want and present themselves as a human. So we automatically might think that it's just a human turning into a werewolf. I think that's a pretty interesting thing subject to tackle.
Yeah.
What's your quick thoughts on that? Possible? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
I know we.
does it scare me? I don't know what scares me worse. A person being able to change into a werewolf. Because if a werewolf changed into a human, then would it have the same thought process as a human? You know what I
Thank you,
mean?
Mike. Possible. That's awesome.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. But that's what I mean. I mean, a human going into a werewolf, you would think that it would still have human thoughts and the thought process would still kind of remain the same or have some kind of closeness to it. But I mean, if the werewolf is going into a human, I don't know. I mean, would they? I don't know. I don't know.
Again, none of us know because we don't even know we don't know anything about what we're talking about to the sense that we
No.
just don't know
Mm-mm.
because we've only experienced certain things. I've experienced the Bigfoot. I've experienced ghosts. Tex experienced Dogman and Bigfoot. Brandy, you've experienced ghosts and now Bigfoot. So we know what we know. We're not believers. We know these things are out there.
Mm-hmm.
But the question that I always have is the mystery behind how it all comes together, because I think that when people tell us an encounter story, they saw something, and we always say this, Tex, Brandy. We know you saw something, but then again, the human mind is so hard to process something that's not supposed to exist that I think sometimes the mind plays tricks on us.
Oh yeah.
Not that we're lying at all, but it's
Yeah.
just that you just like when I saw that Bigfoot creature or whatever it was, right? I didn't know, I couldn't process that. I couldn't process it. It's still burned in my memory. I'll never forget the images of both of the creatures from, the humanoid turning into the demon, as I always say. I'll never forget
Mhm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But still today, what was that? And still, where did it come from? So yeah, and again, it's just a mystery. That's why I enjoy doing these shows and dissecting these accounts that people send to us, to be honest. You're on.
Speaking of encounters sent to people, I'm following my buddy Rob. I will be on Coast to Coast October 6th/7th,
Awesome.
midnight Central. So yeah,
Yes. Find it on
looking
your
forward to
AM
that.
dial. I've yet to hear my show played back yet. I can't find it, but
And if you go to the Coast to Coast website
mm.
and put in your town or your state, you can find out what radio stations they're playing it on.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, there you go. Well, it is exciting news. Now we're going to have like 2 big time stars.
Oh gosh.
Well, you know what's sorry for the background noise. What's crazy, guys? Now with me in the mix, it's me, Rob, Jason, and Danielle that's all been on Coast to Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, we've had Brent Thomas is in the house where he was. He's been on Coast to Coast as well.
And
there he is.
Yep,
Paranormal Portal Show. Hey, everybody, if you've not subscribed to Brent Thomas Paranormal Portal on YouTube, go over after this show and subscribe to him. And he's also got a great podcast under the Paranormal Portal moniker on Spreaker, Spotify, wherever podcasts are found. Go check out Brent.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I'm just going to have to wait and hopefully one day.
You'll get your turn. And I do want to give Brent a big shout out. He's been such a great friend, such a great supporter, and Brent need to get you back on the show. By the way.
Oh yeah.
So, but he's got some great stuff over in his channel, Paranormal Portal or Porthole.
Yeah, he does. It's a great show. And again, Brent was saying too, it's behind a paywall, so I guess it comes out on YouTube in a couple months. So, but yeah, but I got to tell you, when I was on that show, really briefly, I'm waiting for that phone call, 3 a.m. my time. George Nuri is going to call me. Never spoke with the man at all, right? But we hit it off because right before the show, a minute before showtime, I'm biting my nails. Oh my God, I'm on Coast to Coast in a minute. How come he's not calling me? We hit it off. We went to the same high school together, as we find out. He's got like 10 or 12 years on me. So right after that, he loved me. He was promoting the show, the books. He just never heard him do that before. He went out of his way. Very nice guy. I went to my high school, and he lived 3 miles from me. But our paths never crossed because we're about a decade apart in age, I guess. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. That was a good show. You'll have fun, Tex, as always.
So. Yeah, because I think if I get a chance, I will be referencing the famous Bugs interview from back in the Art Bell.
The Art Bell, yeah, I love that story.
And it ties into what we're doing in Brown Springs. And if you want to know why and how, tune into the show.
I got to thank everybody. Speaking of tuning into the show, a lot of new people in here.
Yes.
awesome. Thank you. This is a great show. If you are new, subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube. Brett Thomas in the house, the Paranormal Portal. Check him out as well. Buy my books. Check them out. Bigfoot Mr. Rob. Type it in your Amazon browser. The link is also here. Thank you. It's all analytics. Please leave a review if you do buy the book and decide to buy the book. I set up book 2 where you can read about 8 pages for free. How about that?
Oh,
So go check that out. And so today's Thursday, and let's see. Well, Brandy, the Blondes and the Booze are on tonight. What you got going on?
Well, we are having a little conundrum. Our guest, we think, has COVID.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Well, you can't catch it over the radio waves, so
we can't. But he is not feeling well at all. Right. But it was going to be a good one. It was going to be, we actually had 2 on tonight. We were going to have Josh Hurd from Malvern Manor and Johnny Hauser from the Villisca Axe Murder House. So we were going to have both of them on because they have weird things that go from one house to the other. And then when people are investigating, it's like they have references that lead back to the Villisca or it leads back to Malvern. It's like they're kind of like tied together spiritually, kind of a thing. And we were going to explore that kind of that kind of activity, and they do strange stuff to each other. But we're going to leave that for the interview. But we're going to reschedule, so we have to discuss what we're actually going to do tonight. I think we're going to do drop the link tonight, where you can come on.
Open lines. Yeah, open lines.
Yeah, you can come on 5-10 minutes, tell your story. We can talk about it and have a good time that way. So we may do that. We're just not sure yet.
Those get interesting. Those do get interesting. Every once in a while they are fun. They are kind of fun, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's Thursday. So you're on Friday, and then Tex, you're on. The next time you're on is what, Sunday? You got truth. Do you have your true crime coming up Sunday? I forgot the name of it already. I'm kidding, man.
Minds.
I'm kidding. Infamous Minds. The P. Diddy story. I told you, do it. It's a month long.
You could do like a 4-part series on.
You can. I gave it to Tex. I didn't give anything to Tex. I said, Tex, do it. He says, Rob, you do it on Saturday night. I said, no, I want you to have it. Tex was a little down the other day. I'm sorry, Tex, you're down.
Okay, I'll tell you what. What. Sunday we're going to do P. Diddy, and Rob's going to be with us.
Oh, well, geez, that means I got to do some research now, man.
Yeah,
Sunday's football, man. I can't work on Sunday. Let's do it. I tell you what, we could make a collaborative effort on your channel, but there's a lot of research in that, Tex. There's a lot. You can go all the way back to Biggie Smalls murder, Tupac's murder, not just what happened in with the sex crimes. This man, it's really a thorough. It's God. There's so much. But anyways, that's something we can discuss later.
Well, we do a part 1. We could do a part 2 on somebody else's channel, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think it's something we take a look at. People like that, and we always try to make our shows variety instead of doing all the same things. And so we're all evolving, and that'd be a great thing to evolve into, especially with the true crime aspect and all that. But this was a great show. I got to thank everybody for coming on in, the super chats, the pirates are subscribe, like, share. I think with that, I've got to. I don't want to say what I'm doing. I gotta find the extra. Okay. Here we go.
Where's the button?
If you do, subscribe, like button on the way out, everybody. See y'all in Brandy's chat room tonight. The Blondes and the Booze, 9 of the East. For Tex and Brandy, I'm BMR, and we are out.